BTS News Today. The Seoul sky was still covered in a thin layer of clouds when the whispers began to spread among staff and assistants working at a well-known recording studio in Gangnam. That day, two big names returned to fill the hallways and control room of the studio that had long been a silent witness to their musical journey, Jimin and Jungkook of BTS. They were known to have arrived early in the morning, with no signs of leaving until late at night. The atmosphere around the studio felt different, as if something very important was in the making. A black van with tinted windows slowly pulled up at the studio's back entrance around 8:10 a.m. There were no cheering fans, no swarm of reporters. Only security personnel moved quickly to open the back door and guide out two familiar figures. They wore loose hoodies and masks, but their movements and posture were unmistakable to anyone who knew BTS. Jimin stepped out first, carrying a small bag and a cup of warm coffee, followed by Jungkook with a laptop and earphones hanging around his neck. Once inside the studio, they headed straight to the main room. The staff on duty greeted them with smiles and a bit of nervousness, not just because of their presence, but also because of the intense energy they brought with them that day. Jimin, who usually filled any room he entered with light laughter, appeared more serene. He sat directly in front of the monitor and opened a DAW, digital audio workstation, file that had been prepared earlier. Jungkook, on the other hand, looked like someone who had been waiting for this day for quite some time. He connected his laptop to the main system and opened a folder containing raw vocal recordings he had compiled over the past few weeks. Soon after, music began to flow from behind the soundproof walls. The rhythm sounded unlike anything they had done before. There was warmth, silence, and strength in its softness. The untitled song felt like fragments of a heart being gently poured into sound waves. No lyrics filled the opening, only piano notes, soft string strokes, and recorded breaths that seemed to capture life and motion. The room was filled with an energy that was hard to describe. Occasionally, Jimin would nod while staring at the screen, then whisper something to Jungkook sitting beside him. They looked completely in sync, speaking in a language only the two of them seemed to understand. "I want this part to feel like a hug," Jimin said softly, replaying the chorus. "Not just any hug, but the kind you've waited for years to receive." Jungkook nodded, eyes fixed on the screen. "You know. I think I understand what you mean. How about I try it in a lower tone and sustain it at the end?" Jimin gave a faint smile. "Try it." Once Jungkook stepped into the vocal booth, everything went silent. The red recording light turned on. The mic was positioned. Earphones were in place. Jimin replayed the track and hit record. As Jungkook's voice began to flow, the studio was swallowed in a sacred silence. No one moved, no one spoke. Even the sound technician in the control room held his breath. Jungkook's voice that day wasn't just the voice of a professional singer. It was the voice of someone pouring out their heart. He sang the chorus gently, full of emotion, holding back tears in the edge of his voice. Jimin's eyes welled up a little. Perhaps not because of the lyrics, which were still being finalized, but because of the way Jungkook delivered them. They completed 3 recording tracks before lunch. But they didn't leave the studio. Meals were ordered and brought to a small lounge next to the recording booth. There, they ate while listening to the takes from the morning session. Sometimes, Jimin sat cross-legged on the sofa with his eyes closed. Jungkook played the instrumental parts on a small keyboard they had brought from home, slowly adding arrangements to fill the empty spaces in the song. "Do you think we'll release this as a special project?" Jimin asked suddenly. Jungkook raised an eyebrow. "A special project? Or something we don't label at all?" "I like that," Jimin smiled, looking at him. "Something without labels, without expectations. Just honesty." They returned to the booth in the afternoon. This time, it was Jimin's turn to record. Jungkook sat at the console, monitoring the waveforms and giving subtle hand gestures as the chorus approached. Jimin sang the verse in a low, almost whispering voice. But that's where the power was. His voice felt like someone speaking directly into your ear, into your heart. When the recording was done, the two of them sat in silence. They knew they had created something meaningful that day, not because of musical complexity or high production value, but because the emotions they had long held inside were finally expressed in their purest form. By the time they left the studio, it was 9 p.m. A light drizzle welcomed them outside, adding a melancholic yet peaceful mood. Jungkook looked up at the sky briefly, then turned to Jimin. "Do you remember the first time we came to this studio 10 years ago?" he asked quietly. Jimin chuckled softly. "Of course. I even remember what we ate that day. Sandwiches and soda. And we dreamed of making music that touched people, not because we were famous, but because we were honest. Jimin looked at Jungkook for a long time, then nodded. Tonight. I think we're finally beginning to achieve that. The same black van picked them up again, but their hearts felt different from that morning. Lighter, filled with hope. Inside the van, they played the recordings from earlier again and again, never getting tired of it.no official announcement. No teaser on Weverse or Instagram, but something was brewing. Something that couldn't be explained with words. A secret project, perhaps. Or simply an honest moment between two friends who grew up together in the light and shadows of fame. That night, Seoul continued its lively pulse. But in one quiet corner of the city, inside a small, silent studio room, something was born, something that might change many hearts, including their own. And for the army who always patiently wait, this might be the beginning of something greater than just a comeback. This is a reminder that behind all the spotlights, there are still two boys writing their story, with melodies, lyrics, and an unwavering love. The van drove slowly down the now quiet streets of Gangnam, reflecting the city lights on its rain-slicked windows. Inside, Jimin leaned his head against the seat, eyes closed, while the soft sound of the song they had just recorded flowed gently through his earphones. Jungkook sat next to him, phone in hand, typing something into the Notes app. No words were exchanged, but the silence was comforting, full of meaning. Hyung, Jungkook murmured after a few minutes. Him. Jimin opened his eyes slightly, turning toward him. You know, I think this song isn't just about our feelings. It's about everything we've been through. About pain, about hope, about loss, and everything we never got to say. Jungkook nodded, fully understanding. That night, they didn't head back to the dorm or their respective apartments. The car turned toward the Han River, stopping at a small, quiet parking lot. Without saying a word, they got out, bringing only a portable speaker they always carried when searching for inspiration. Under the night sky still holding traces of rain, they sat on a wooden bench facing the river. Jimin played the song they had made that day. Not too loud, just enough to let the air around them hum with warmth and longing. They sat in silence, listening to it from beginning to end. The river flowed slowly. The city across the way glowed with golden light from tall apartment windows. And in the midst of it all, two figures sat side by side, voiceless, letting the music be the only language that bound them that night. You know, Jungkook said eventually, his voice nearly swallowed by the whispering wind, when I sang the chorus earlier. I was really thinking of Army. Jimin smiled, lowering his head.